Welcome. You are listening to Aftersight. This recording is intended solely for individuals who are blind or have low vision.
Thank you for joining us for audiobook news read by Sarah, featuring AudioFile magazine. Starting with some fiction title reviews. Victim by Andrew Borrega, read by Anthony Ray Perez. Anthony Ray Perez has just the right tone for this satirical debut novel, especially as he aptly mimics the protagonist's self-justifying voice and truth-twisting. Perez's pace moves the story forward, no matter the circumstance. He sounds just like the smart Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx featured in the story. Javi Perez succeeds until he doesn't by playing the victim trifecta. Tragic circumstance, his drug dealer father is gunned down, struggling economics, and being a person of color. A good student who aims to become a writer, he parlays his victim status into a scholarship at a prestigious college, and ultimately a gig as a staff member of a famous magazine. This first-person novel about his rise and fall is compelling, and Anthony Ray Perez's excellent narration makes it a memorable audiobook. It's available from Random House Audio, 8 hours long, unabridged. Trade edition digital download, ISBN 978-059-3821237 for $20. Books on Tape has the library edition, digital download, ISBN 978-059-3821244 for $76. Great Expectations by Vincent Cunningham, read by Aaron Goodson. Aaron Goodson has a pleasing narrative style. He performs this coming-of-age novel in a conversational manner. His pensive tone works for the narrator/protagonist, David Hammonds, the well-read but adrift young man who finds himself working as a fundraising assistant in the 2008 presidential election for the unnamed African-American senator from Illinois. This clearly autobiographical novel, Cunningham worked on Barack Obama's staff, succeeds because the author is a keen observer of political goings-on, and his finely crafted story includes smart and nuanced riffs on religion, money and politics, and life on the campaign trail. This fictional tell-all takes the young man to settings that range from Martha's Vineyard to L.A. His observation creates a timely listen. It's available from Random House Audio, 6.75 hours long, unabridged. Trade edition digital download, ISBN 978-059-355-9000 for $17.50. Books on Tape has the library edition, digital download, ISBN 978-059-355-9017 for $66.50. Green Dot by Madeline Gray, read by Sasha Simon. Narrator Sasha Simon gives voice to 20-something Hera as she figures out who she is in this new audiobook. After exhausting her options at art school, Hera enters the workforce as a content moderator for a news website. Every day she monitors the bad behavior of others, but when she finds herself in an affair with a married colleague, she has to justify her own bad behavior. Simon's sarcastic delivery captures the emotions of a heroine with a desire to be powerful in a world in which she is powerless. Simon's narration wavers between the overconfidence of youth and the insecurity of someone who knows she's in the wrong. This is the perfect audiobook for fans of the show Fleabag. It's available from Macmillan Audio, 8.75 hours, unabridged. Trade edition digital download, ISBN 978-125-033-2523 for $19.99. Parasol Against the Axe by Hel Noyeyemi, read by Dorji Swallow. Dorji Swallow's performance of this metafiction centres this whirligig of his novel in which story begets story. His assured narration, in particular his ability to do voices and accents and adapt his tone to whatever the scene, makes this audiobook marvellous to listen to. Hero Tojosoa ostensibly comes to Prague to join her friend Sophie for a weekend. When Dorothea Gilmartin arrives as well, the plot thickens, splatters, and all manner of mayhem ensues, including a wedding that the listener learns of before the character herself, and a shape-shifting book titled Paradoxical Undressing, whose stories change for every reader. The city itself seems to narrate parts. Not to worry, Dorji Swallow's steady delivery takes the listener through the looking glass in fine fettle. And narrator Dorji Swallow says, narrating was a labyrinth within a puzzle, within a finger trap, and every time I thought I was somewhere near solving it, I would find the floor beneath my feet had disappeared. It's available from Penguin Audio, 8.25 hours long, unabridged. Trade edition, digital download, ISBN 978-059-382-9370 for $20. Books on tape has the library edition. Digital download, ISBN 978-059-382-9387 for $66.50. And now an article, Celebrating 30 Years of Naxos Audiobooks by Nicholas Soames. Naxos Audiobooks, Classic Literature with Classical Music on Cassette and CD. That was the tagline attached to the launch of our first 5 titles. It was September 1994. Autumn was in the air, but there was a spring in the step of audiobooks. Their time was here, so proclaimed the publishing world. Spoken word had been part of my world since my early teens, ever since I was thunderstruck by Richard Burton's 1954 recording of Dylan Thomas's Under Milk Wood. In its original vehicle it was called radio, of course, but by the time I came to it the medium was LP. The point being, I didn't need to be persuaded of the marvels of the spoken word. I was an early convert. My professional induction into the medium came by a circuitous route. Journalism, specialisms, classical music and judo, sidetracked into a CD label, Clarinet Classics, and a specialist judo imprint, Ippon Books. This segged into Naxos Audiobooks via a 10-minute chat at a formal industry supper with Klaus Heyman, the remarkable and entrepreneurial founder of Naxos, the classical musical label. So there I was in May 1994 in an English country studio recording Milton's Paradise Lost with Anton Lesser, one of England's leading Shakespearean actors and also a much-loved BBC radio voice. I had never recorded an audiobook for real. Anton had never recorded a full audiobook, and my engineer, Alan Smith, a former viola player with Thomas Beecham turned music recording engineer, had never recorded an audiobook. But the green light flashed and off we went. Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all our woe. Just writing this memory, a fizz goes down my spine. Later, after incorporating 17th century viol music by John Jenkins, courtesy of the voluminous Naxos catalogue, we knew that something special was happening, and thus the roller coaster began. It didn't spring fully formed. My son, Benjamin Soames, recently graduated from the London Theatre School LAMDA, opened a door to new young voice talent, all recording audiobooks for the first time. The successful Junior Classics series began with him. Tales of the Greek Legends. From Laura Patton, LAMDA, came Virginia Woolf's Orlando. Also from the LAMDA stable came Michael Sheen with Crime and Punishment, Oedipus, Romeo and Juliet with Kate Beckinsale, and much else. It was clear from the start that there was something exceptional here. Weeks later, Juliet Stevenson came in to read to the Lighthouse. I happened to glance at her script as she sat down. There wasn't a mark on it, no indication whose voice was about to speak, or where thought and expression melded into one another. Was it going to be an edit nightmare? No, she never wrong-footed. Every inner voice as clear and precisely identified as a bell. I just remember what is on the page, she said simply at the time. Being a perfectionist doesn't mean just a seamless recording from her, but something more, not just magical but truly authentic. We loved challenges. James Joyce's Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake with Jim Norton and Marcella Reardon, 2 Irish actors embedded in their heritage. Marcel Proust, a baton picked up by Neville Jason, he of a John Gielgud recommendation, and one of the outstanding voices of our time. Brian Cox, a radio advocate, pre- and post-Logan Roy, came up for Brief Lives and a multi-voice Dracula. At first, abridgment was the order of the day. With the advent of Audible and digital downloads, unabridged came out of the libraries and into a wider audience. So off we went again. Dickens, Tolstoy, Dumas, Flaubert, Melville, Sterne, Spencer. The list was endless and the glories manifest. Narrators flocked to record the classics. Fluent, versatile and experienced David Timpson essayed the enormous decline and fall of the Roman Empire one moment, the Pickwick Papers the next, followed by the complete Sherlock Holmes. Yes, really. His preparation was unbelievable. He also writes and directs and advised me well. There were some unforgettable phone calls. "Hello, this is Kenneth Branagh's manager. He would like to record Richard III. In 2 weeks. Would you be interested?" Done. "Hello, this is John Tideman, former head of BBC Radio Drama. Paul Schofield would like to record King Lear for his 80th birthday. Would you be interested?" Done. Ian McKellen's Prospero followed, and not to be forgotten was the contemporary Japanese connection. We dived into the principal novels, unabridged of course, of Haruki Murakami, fortunate that his book publisher hadn't realized his works were naturals for audiobooks. It was an association I treasured for years, until the publisher began clawing them back. Understandably, of course. That is the strength and weakness of the Maverick Independent. What a life! My personal karmic tagline has been that I must have done something reasonably good to warrant 20 years of the greatest classics and working with breathtaking talent. And though in the past 10 years I have taken new routes, I have, of course, watched the progress of Naxos Audiobooks, and I can honestly say that it has itself taken new and bold routes in the hands of Anthony Anderson and his team. I could not have wished for better for the label. And more listening from Naxos Audiobooks includes Brief Lives by John Aubrey, read by Brian Cox, available abridged, trade edition, digital download. Dracula by Bram Stoker, read by David Horowitz, Jamie Parker and a full cast, available as an audio program, trade edition, digital download. The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Edward Gibbon, read by David Timpson, available unabridged, trade edition, digital download. Faust by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, read by Samuel West, Toby Jones and a full cast, available as an audio program, trade edition, digital download. Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce, read by Barry McGovern and Marcella Reardon, available unabridged, trade edition, digital download. The History of Theatre by David Timpson, read by Derek Jacobi, Carol Boyd, John McAndrew and others, available as an audio program, trade edition, digital download. King Lear by William Shakespeare, read by Paul Schofield and a full cast, audio program, trade edition, digital download. Oedipus the King by Sophocles, read by Michael Sheen and a full cast, available as audio program, trade edition, digital download. Paradise Lost by John Milton, read by Anton Lesser, available unabridged, trade edition, digital download. The Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens, read by David Timpson, available unabridged, trade edition, digital download. Richard III by William Shakespeare, read by Kenneth Branagh and a full cast, available as an audio program, trade edition, digital download. Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, read by Michael Sheen, Kate Beckinsale and a full cast, available as an audio program, trade edition, digital download. Tales from the Greek Legends by Edward Ferry, read by Benjamin Soames, available unabridged, recommended for ages 8 and up, trade edition, digital download. To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, read by Juliet Stevenson, available abridged, trade edition, digital download. And finally, Ulysses by James Joyce, read by Jim Norton and Marcella Reardon, available unabridged, trade edition, digital download. And now let's move on to mystery and suspense title reviews. The Night House by Jo Nesbø, translated by Neil Smith, read by Michael Crouch. Like a gifted storyteller conjuring scary tales, Michael Crouch gives a riveting performance of this gripping psychological suspense by Norwegian mystery writer Jo Nesbø in a departure from his Harry Holland detective novels. Crouch channels a 14-year-old Richard, recently arrived in a foster home after the deaths of his parents in a fire. Before long, Richard starts to experience some truly terrifying supernatural phenomena. A classmate swallowed by a telephone, for example. Crouch modulates his voice to sound like the jaded, yet incredulous adolescent and like the disembodied, sinister voice that occasionally drops in during his phone calls. A great listen for fans of the paranormal is made even better by a great narrator. It's available from Random House Audio, 6.5 hours long unabridged. Trade edition, digital download, ISBN 978-059-378-8578 for $20. Books on tape has the library edition, digital download, ISBN 978-059-378-8585 for $66.50. The Mystery Writer by Solari Gentle, read by Catherine Littrell. Catherine Littrell portrays Theodosia, who gives up her law studies in Australia and goes to stay with her brother Gus in Kansas to pursue her dream of becoming a writer. When she finds the body of a famous writer who had befriended her in a coffee shop, she and Gus find their world turned upside down. They're drawn into a world of preppers, conspiracy theorists, and book publishers with evil intent. Littrell's strong characterizations and use of accents create believable and likable characters. In fast-paced dialogue, Littrell seamlessly moves between Australian and American accents, letting the humour that is sprinkled throughout the twisting plot shine. It's available from Dreamscape, 10.75 hours unabridged. Trade edition digital download, ISBN 978-166-6654738 for $25. The Spy Coast, The Martini Club, Book 1, by Tess Gerritsen, read by Hilary Huber and Brittany Presley. Through Hilary Huber's masterful performance, listeners are introduced to former spy Maggie Bird, who is now happily raising chickens on her small farm in Maine. But a dead body on her doorstep and an attempt on her life force Maggie to use her espionage skills once again. Joined by her fellow former spies, the members of the Martini Club, Maggie travels back to several former assignment sites to uncover who is behind the threats. Along the way, listeners become privy to Maggie's backstory. Huber convincingly portrays Maggie as a courageous, intelligent woman. Brittany Presley voices Bella, the other key woman in this well-paced thriller. Presley's performance as a spoiled, moody teenager is particularly effective. The result is a totally engaging launch of this new series. It's available from Brilliance Audio, 10.5 hours long unabridged. Trade edition digital download, ISBN 978-149-159-6272 for $42.99. Also available as CD or MP3. Harbour Lights by James Lee Burke, read by Gary Furlong, Matt Pittenger, Michael David Axtell, Ali Andre Ali, Alan Carlson, Callio Griffith, Leon Nixon, and Zach Ailman. The 8 performances here provide depth to the settings of these evocative short stories. Themes of race and class are covered, offering fascinating windows into lives on the fringe. Among the standout moments, Alan Carlson exquisitely conveys the violence and ethical dilemmas a professor faces when his daughter is attacked and the police do nothing. Gary Furlong captures a challenging father and son dynamic after they witness a tanker capsize. And Leon Nixon captivates when a professor and son are trapped in a rural town during a road trip. The listening experience may be deliberately disorienting as settings and timelines shift, but the soundscape never loses rhythm or pacing or breaks its spell. It's available from Simon & Schuster Audio, 10.75 hours unabridged. Trade edition digital download, ISBN 978-179-7176147 for $24.99. Death Under a Little Sky, Jake Jackson, Book 1, by Stig Abel, read by Oliver Hembrough. Thanks to Stig Abel's remarkable debut novel, Oliver Hembrough has the material needed to provide hours of engrossing listening. When former police officer Jake Jackson inherits his uncle's remote farm, he decides to disconnect from his London life and move in. Leaving behind all modern conveniences, Jake finds contentment he never dreamed possible, but when human bones are found, he's dragged back into detective work. Hembrough's performance captures both the lyrical beauty of the countryside and the intensity of this well-plotted mystery. An assortment of odd locals and a lovely female veterinarian round out the suspects as Jake assists the local police in their investigation. This audiobook is several cuts above the crowd, thanks to intelligent writing and an outstanding performance by Hembra. It's available from Harper Audio, 10 hours long, unabridged. Trade edition, digital download, ISBN 978-006-338-1094 for $27.99. And now for some young adult titles. Teenage Dirtbags by James Acker, read by Max Myers and Lee Osorio. Max Myers and Lee Osorio are a dynamic duo in this young adult tale of queer love, heartbreak, and revenge. High school student Phil Reno is the class bad boy, while his former best friend and first love, Jackson Pasternak, is class president. When the attention-hungry Cameron Ellis outs Phil and breaks his heart, Phil and Jackson team up to bring him down. But reforming the bonds they had before their explosive falling out proves more difficult than they imagined, even as they fall in love all over again. Then they discover that revenge isn't all it's cracked up to be. Myers conveys Jackson's facade of perfectionism, while Osorio lets Phil's anger burst through. Both performances perfectly match this audiobook's tone, bold and unflinching. It's available from Harlequin Audio, 12.25 hours unabridged. Recommended for ages 14 and up. Trade edition, digital download, ISBN 978-148-822-9404 for $27.99. No Going Back by Patrick Flores Scott, read by Ramon de Ocampo. Ramon de Ocampo's narrative momentum captures the dramatic 72 hours experienced by 17-year-old Antonio after he is released from a youth detention center. As Antonio reunites with friends and family, de Ocampo captures his anger at his wrongful arrest for robbery and the painful relationships that led to it. De Ocampo also expresses Antonio's remorse and desire to follow the rules of his parole and to make amends with his mother and Maya, his best friend. As Antonio pursues a secret plan to recover the money that was stolen and make everything right, de Ocampo ramps up the pacing and gives him a tone of desperation. De Ocampo's depiction of Antonio's wise, caring stepfather occasionally provides some relief from this story's tension. It's available from Hachette Audio, 7 hours long, unabridged. Recommended for ages 14 and up. Trade edition, digital download, ISBN 978-166-863-6558 for $24.99. The Breakup Lists by Adib Karam, read by Amin El-Gamal. Amin El-Gamal's winning performance endears deaf queer protagonist Jackson Ghaznavi to listeners. Jackson loves being the stage manager for his high school's theater department. When sweet, handsome Liam from the swim team gets the lead role in the musical, he and Jackson grow closer. The only problem? Jackson's older sister Jasmine likes Liam too. Jasmine has had a string of breakups. To help her get over her heartbreaks, Jackson makes breakup lists, cataloguing her ex's faults. In the print book, these lists and even Jackson's inner dialogue are peppered with crossed-out words and phrases. In the audiobook, El-Gamal speaks the struck-through words, says, "Scratch that," in a sheepish tone, as Jackson self-edits, then continues. It's a clever and effective adaptation for an audiobook that's full of charm. And narrator Amin El-Gamal says, "This book is so affirming, it's so full of queer, Southwest Asian, North African disabled joy. Adib strikes the perfect combination of cuteness and salty humor, and I hope listeners feel all the glowy feelings I did." It's available from Listening Library, 8.5 hours long, unabridged, recommended for ages 14 and up. Trade edition, digital download, ISBN 978-059-379-3787 for $27.50. Library edition, digital download, ISBN 978-059-379-3794 for $69. And that's it for me. Thank you for joining us for Audiobook News, read by Sarah.
You're listening to Aftersight.
Hey there, Colorado listeners. Are you or someone you know feeling overwhelmed by today's tech? Senior Planet Colorado has got your back. Reach out to our local hotline at 720-7 877-676-0233, Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Apple enthusiasts, you're in luck. Join their Apple Addicts online group sessions on Tuesdays for iPhones and iPads and Thursdays for Macs. No registration needed. For all other tech topics, including Google, Gmail, PCs, and phones, book a 30-minute one-on-one session on Fridays. Just drop them an email at colorado@seniorplanet.org. More of a Windows or Android user? The WACI group meets online every Monday at 3 p.m. to cover all things non-Apple. Need to get the hang of Zoom? Give them a call, and they will guide you through in both English and Spanish. And for those who prefer face-to-face help in the Denver area, they are here for help at the Senior Planet Colorado Center in Denver every Tuesday morning and Wednesday afternoon. To set up your in-person session, ring 720-328-0875. That is 720-328-0875. Their doors are always open at 7585 E Academy Boulevard in Denver. Remember, in this digital age, you're never alone. Senior Planet Colorado is here to ensure you stay connected. Being homeless or at risk of homelessness can be an incredibly challenging and frightening experience. Fortunately, there are a variety of resources available to help you with housing, healthcare, and food access needs. Finding a safe and stable place to stay is a top priority when you're homeless or at risk of homelessness. Here are some resources that can help. The Transitional Living Program for Youth, or TLP. This program is run by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and provides eligible youth between the ages of 16 to 22 with safe and stable living options for up to 21 months, as well as support services. To find the closest center to you, call 1-800-621-4000. That's 1-800-621-4000. 211. This nationwide resource is available 24/7 and can help you connect with local services, including housing programs, shelters, food banks, and more. To learn more about your local hotline, visit the 211 website or call 211. Projects for Assistance in Transition from Homelessness, or PATH. If you suffer from mental illness and are facing homelessness, PATH may be able to help. PATH can assist with substance abuse issues, housing services, and finding more resources in your area. To find the closest PATH program, call 1-877-726-4727. That's 1-877-726-4727. The Homeless Shelter Directory. This online directory can help you find the shelter closest to you. Visit www.homelessshelterdirectory.org.
Now is the time to schedule a crime prevention presentation from the District Attorney's Office. One presentation covers ID theft prevention, and a second presents the 5 red flags of scams. To schedule, contact C.S. John S.O. That's CSJOHNSO @jeffco.us, or call 303-271-6970. That number again is 303-271-6970.